Okay, now for something completely different. We're going to convert the 1600 Airfix HMAS Victorious into an HMAS Melbourne. And that's basically taking the larger aircraft carrier and converting it to a light fleet carrier in 1600. It's quite a mission. However, I'm not aware of any light fleet carrier models in 1600, so I thought it would be an interesting little experiment to have a go at. This is what we ended up with, so let's have a look at the process to get to this stage. I was hoping to reuse the enclosed bow and the stern gallery to shorten the hull and reduce the waterline beam. So the areas marked X are for removal. Here we can see the first two cuts in the hull to shorten the length, and also the center section of the hull has also been narrowed by about 5 mm to bring the waterline beam to about 80 feet. Here we can see the original sponsons have been cut away from the side of the hull and some supports glued in for the future flight deck. The lift wells and boat decks have now been glued in. Some side plating is now in position, as is most of the flight deck. This shot shows that the starboard side of the hull has been fed into the new flight deck, but the port side of the hull has yet to be done. This overhead view of the two flight decks is a good comparison of the shorter length of the Melbourne flight deck compared to the original Victorious deck. My hopes of using the original rounded off quarterdeck were dashed when I discovered that the Melbourne quarterdeck was actually squared off with a square transom. So this shot shows the plating for that arrangement being put in place. In these next shots, we can see the flight deck and the whole side plating basically completed and a start being made on the island superstructure. Once we started adding the first few coats of paint, the model really starts to look like something. When I was building this model, I hadn't yet started using photo etch, and so I just scratch built the mast, and it didn't turn out too bad. I also had to go at scratch building the aircraft, and this is the result, although it was quite time consuming, so I've only made one of each type. We'll finish off by looking at some pictures of the finished model, and although I built this model a few years ago, I'm still pretty happy with the way it turned out, considering I didn't use photo etch and probably a few other tricks I've learnt along the way that might have helped. In some ways, the Victorious model is not ideal for this conversion because it's too wide, too long, and also the hull is a little bit too high. So to be ideal, the flight deck of the Melbourne probably should have been lowered about 4 or 5 mm. However, this was a bit of a rough project just to see whether it would work, so I accepted some of those compromises. So hopefully you enjoyed watching this. A little bit of a different project, just goes to show what you can make if you want to make a one-off special model that's not available in kit form.